So once again, I welcome you all to this 141st session of Leadership Talks. As you know, that these sessions are being organized by India International Education Council and School Lalaji Solutions. India International Education Council is a not-for-profit organization which is working in the field of education. It has collaborators from 12 countries. It aims to create a better world through education, building quality centers for elementary education approachable for all kids, finding best educational practices across the globe and find ways to implement those in Indian institutions is another goal of IAEC. It is also creating more awareness on hygiene and learning disabilities. It publishes a magazine called World Education Review and many other educational reports. It aims to build 100 chapters in different cities by 2022. It will soon open its membership for institutions and individuals. It also imparts training for leaders, teachers, students, and parents. As you all know that so far we have successfully conducted 140 sessions. We have received 17,212 registrations, 16,072 questions on national education policy. We have seen participation from 7 countries: India, USA, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Nepal, Kuwait, and Russia. From India, we have seen participation from 22 states and 117 cities. We aim to organize minimum 200 sessions. With this, we would be reaching out to 100,000 educators, 20,000 institutions, and 1,000 plus eminent speakers like today's speakers would be joining us to share their perspective and thoughts on national education policy. Now, with this, I would request you all, please join me in welcoming our key speakers for this very special session. Our first key speaker, a very senior education leader, Dr. Dharmdev Vidyarthi ji. Vidyarthi sir is the regional director and principal with DAV Public School, Zeen Zone, Haryana. He's a very senior education leader with many decades of experience. He has an MA, B.Ed, PhD, DLET. He is the chairman of various prestigious platforms like New Education Policy Implementation Committee, Haryana, Haryana Yoga Association. He's also the president of RA Yuva Samaj, Haryana. He's having 40 years of experience of all types of educational institutions, schools to university. He has been the ex-director with DAV Museum and Research Center, New Delhi. He has been the founder with 6 DAV public schools at Tohana, Narwana, Patran, Jhakal, Bhiwani, and Rewari. He's also been the promoter of 25 public aided residential schools, Gurukul Kurukshetra, Kanya Gurukul, Kharal. He has been the author with 35 books, tracts, comics, among many others. He is quite active in various social activities. Like he was the key instrument with the mass marriages of 1,000 poor and needy girls. He got 1 lakh signatures against social evils like drug abuses and dowry, among others, and 1 lakh letters to Prime Minister of India for Bal Divas in memory of Bal Shahid. He has received many prestigious awards for his contribution to the field of education, like the CBSE National Teacher Award. He has also received Sahitya Academy Award, Mahatma Hansraj DAV National Award, Shahid Rajpal Literacy National Award, Haryana CM Literacy National Award, Red and White Bravery Award for Social Awareness, Samaj Gaurav Samman, and more than 40 such prestigious awards and honors. We welcome you, Dharmdev sir. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. Our next key speaker, another senior education leader, Charles Clarence sir. Charles sir is the principal with Dr. MPS World School, Agra. He's an accomplished educator with the demonstrated ability to teach, motivate, and direct students while maintaining high interest and achievement. Consistently maintain excellent relations with students, parents, faculty, and administrators. He is self-motivated with strong planning, organizational, and leadership skills. He has an MA and B.Ed. He's having 27 years of teaching experience. He has been awarded and recognized with many awards and recognitions for his contribution to the field of education. We welcome you, Charles sir. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. Our next speaker, Shipra Bhatia ji. Shipra ma'am is principal with the Dayanand Dinanath Education Center, which is a residential school in Kanpur. Shipra ma'am having 15 years of teaching and administrative experience. She started her career with the Paramount School in Bareilly. She's an active member. She was an active member with Rotary Club Bareilly for providing education to poor and needy. After her marriage in 2010, she served Delhi Public School Kidwainagar as headmistress for a period of 1.5 years. Soon after that, she got an opportunity to be principal at a CBSE school. Many parents of that school approached her complaining that their wards are studying in an English medium school but unable to speak English. That was the point when she felt the need of introducing spoken English and PD classes at school level. Later, from 2014 to 2020, she headed an ICSE board school in Kanpur. She continued to pursue her passion of providing education to poor and needy. She is associated with an NGO called True Worship, wherein they are working towards the education of needy children. Welcome, Shubhra ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. Our next speaker for this very special session, education leader Balwinder Singh ji. Balwinder ji is principal with Sukhram Memorial Public School, Hisar, Haryana. He has a master's degree in mathematics and political science from Kurukshetra University, B.Ed from University College of Education, Kurukshetra. He did his graduation from DNPG College, Hisar, schooling from Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya, Hostle Hills, Andhra Pradesh. He is having 21 years of teaching experience, and for last 11 years, he has been working as a principal. We welcome him. Thank you for joining. And our last key speaker for this very special session, Deepika Yadav ji. Deepika Yadav ji, assistant professor with SRM University, Haryana. She has been awarded a doctorate degree on the topic of optimal operation and scheduling of hydropower plant by NIT Hamirpur. She has presented her work at national and international levels. She has reviewed various papers for international journals such as Elsewhere Journal of Renewable and Sustainable Energy Reviews, Taylor and Fences, and Springer Plus. She is also a life member with ISTE. She has more than 8.5 years of teaching experience in various institutes. Earlier, she has also worked at Adam Science and Technology Institute, Ethiopia, in the Electrical and Computer Science Department. We welcome you, Deepika ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. With this, we come to the next part of the session, which is the opening remark part. I would be requesting all our key speakers if we can have their 1 minute opening remark. So I would request Dharamdev sir, sir, if we can have your quick 1 minute opening remark.
Good evening to all of you. Myself, Dr. Vidyarthi, working as a principal cum regional director at DAV Public Schools, Jind Zone. The topic National Education Policy is very relevant and hot talk of the day. I think this is the necessity and needs of the hour. But most important question is how to implement this new education policy to the country, especially in this specific scenario. So I think most of the speakers will speak on this topic, and I think my topic will be the challenges in the implementation of the education policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Vidyarthi sir. We all are very excited to hear your ideas on that. I'll be coming back to you. Now, I would request Charles sir, sir, if you can have your quick 1 minute opening remark.
Yes, good evening, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. So basically, I'll be talking on the concept of literacy and numeracy. But before that, I just want to tell you that the National Education Policy, it's a small document of just 66 pages. And if we go through it, I think most of it is comprehensible, and it's very exciting because there are lots of changes that we will be able to see in it. In fact, it is something that we would all dream to have. If I would have that kind of education, I would be definitely very happy. And I hope the future generations can actually get that. The key point that Dr. Vidyarthi also has spoken about is the implementation. You see, sometimes the meal is really good, but we do not know how to serve it out. So I think that's where we'll be working on. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Charles sir. I'll come back to you to find out how we can serve the meal better. Big thanks. I'll come back to you. Now I would request Shipra ma'am, ma'am, if we can have your opening remark.
A very good afternoon to all the esteemed members, and it is actually a profound privilege for me to be a part of this thing. And NEP, the talk of the hour, which has to be catered, and we as an educationist need to address it immediately. And I'll thank the Indian Education Council taking up this as a topic, and wherein we can put up our points and we can convey it to the society. So, and I'll be speaking actually about the early childhood education and curriculum and pedagogy. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll come back to you. Now I would request Balvinder sir, sir, if we can have your opening remark. Sir, you are on mute.
Okay, thank you. I thank India International Education Council for giving me this opportunity to have a talk with such learned group. I have attended a few of your seminars earlier also, but this is the first time that I am here as a speaker. I would be talking upon the universal access to education today. Thank you.
Wonderful. So that's very important area, sir. We all are very excited to hear your ideas on that important part. Big thanks for joining. I'll come back to you. Now I would request Dr. Deepika Yadav. Deepika ji, if we can have your opening remark.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be part of panel discussion. And I'm heading electrical department at SRM University, Sonipat. As I'm from SRM University, so I'll be discussing about CBCS, that is choice-based credit system that we have adopted for SRM University. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Deepika ji, with that, I'll come back to you. Now, with this, we come to the next part of the session, which is the main talk. I would be coming back to all our key speakers for their detailed perspective. But before I invite our first speaker, I just would like to share the learnings which we have had during our last 140 sessions. You know, during our last 140 sessions, almost every participant shared that this is a wonderful document. This document has a potential to place India at that coveted position of Vishwa Gyan Guru. By the same time, almost same number of participants shared that execution is going to be highly challenging. Almost every participant shared that, you know, we have a lot of challenges, though the policy makers have done their job. Now, onus is on the educators, onus is on the, you know, school leaders or different education leaders. Many believe that finance is going to be a key concern area. A lot of people who participated shared that teachers training is a great area of concern. Many people also said, yes, teachers training is a one area of concern, but the bigger area of concern is lack of intent among teachers to get trained. A lot of people also shared their assessment that good schools in urban areas already implementing many of these ideas. The biggest challenge would be for the rural school, budget schools, and the government schools. Many people also shared their assessment that this pandemic has exposed how poor digital infrastructure we have in our country. So that is going to be another key challenge. Many people also cited the example of CCE. That it was also a wonderful document, but got failed due to poor execution. So I would request you all. You all are learned education leaders. You know, we have collectively more than 150 years of experience, even more than that. So I would request all of you that while sharing your perspective, if you can also suggest some idea, you know, some suggestion or some I would say best practice which you have been implementing in your respective institution. So that would make this session more engaging, more useful for all of us. We can learn from each other. So with this, I would also request, please keep the time limit in mind, 8 to 10 minutes, so that we have sufficient time in the end for the questions. So with this, I would invite our first key speaker, Vidyarthi sir. Sir, over to you.
Thank you very much. As you already explained the importance of the education policy, सबसे जरूरी बात यही होती है सर कि कोई भी पॉलिसी बने, कोई भी एक्ट बने, वो जब तक पब्लिक में नहीं जाएगा और पब्लिक उसे ठीक से नहीं समझ पाएगी, तो तब तक we cannot implement any type of policy or act. So it is necessary द इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ द अंडरस्टैंड द इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ द एक्ट। तो हमारे लिए जरूरी है कि हम इस पॉलिसी को टीचर्स, पेरेंट्स, स्टूडेंट तक लेकर के जाएं। जैसा आपने कहा कि सुझाव भी होना चाहिए, तो पहला सुझाव तो यही है। जहां तक जरूरत की बात है, ये पहली पॉलिसी मैं इसको कहूंगा। वैसे तो अब तक 2 बार नई पॉलिसी बनाई गई है, 1 बार अमेंड करके बनाई, 3 प्रैक्टिस इस प्रकार की हो चुकी है। लेकिन ये पॉलिसी ऐसी है जिसने सबसे पहले लॉर्ड मैकाले की पॉलिसी से कुछ छेड़छाड़ की है। इससे पहले किसी ने उस पॉलिसी को नहीं छेड़ा, वो कॉन्सेप्ट यूं का क्यों रहा। हाँ, उस कॉन्सेप्ट में ही हम कैसे आगे बढ़ सकते हैं, ये सोचने की उस पॉलिसी में कोशिश की गई। ये पहली है जिसने प्रिंसिपल, जो लॉर्ड मैकाले की थ्योरी है और जो सबसे पहले कहती है कि भारतीय अस्मिता, भारतीय गौरव, भारतीय संस्कृति और भारतीय भाषाएं, इनके ऊपर जोर देती है। ये पहली पॉलिसी है जिसने सबसे पहले भारतीय भाषा की अनिवार्यता और क्षेत्रीय भाषा की अनिवार्यता, अदरवाइज तो जो हमारा जो इसी कारण मानसिक जो हमारा सेटअप बना है, माइंड सेटअप बना है, क्योंकि निरंतर निरंतर 100 साल से ज्यादा हो गए हमें लॉर्ड मैकाले की पॉलिसी पढ़ते पढ़ते, तो हमारा कॉन्सेप्ट वही बना कि सबसे पहले तो इंग्लिश आनी चाहिए। इंग्लिश हर बच्चे का एम है कि इंग्लिश जाने वो, तो इसमें हिंदी कहाँ गुम हो गई पता नहीं लगा। और इंग्लिश बोलते हुए हम जितने कॉन्शियस होते हैं, हिंदी बोलते हुए उतने कॉन्शियस नहीं होते। हिंदी तो हम जैसे भी चाहे बोल देते हैं, क्षेत्रीय भाषा अपनी जैसे भी चाहे बोल देते हैं। तो ये पहली अनिवार्यता जो बच्चे की मातृभाषा में शिक्षा देने की जरूरत थी, तो तभी वो भारत के गौरव को समझ पाएगा, भारतीय इतिहास को समझ पाएगा। अब ये इम्पोर्टेंस में मैं ज्यादा न जाते हुए केवल इतना ही कहूंगा कि ये इस उद्देश्य को लेकर के बनाई गई पॉलिसी कि भारतीय संस्कृति और इतिहास के प्रति जानकारी रखता हुआ हमारा विद्यार्थी एक ग्लोबल स्टूडेंट, विश्व स्तरीय शिक्षा शिक्षार्थी होगा, विद्यार्थी होगा। अब ये पॉलिसी तो बन गई, अब इसके संबंधित जो प्रॉब्लम आने वाली है, हमने जो परिकल्पना की कि भारतीय इतिहास, भारतीय संस्कृति, अब इसका सिलेबस में कैसे इसको डाला जाएगा, करिकुलम में कैसे ये चीज आएंगी, कौन लोग वो करिकुलम तैयार करेंगे। क्योंकि मुझे आई एम अफ्रेड अबाउट द माइंड सेट ऑफ द ऑथर आल्सो, क्योंकि वो ऑथर भी वही हैं जो मैकॉले की शिक्षा प्रणाली से पढ़ करके आए हैं। वो किस बात को कितना इम्पोर्टेंस देंगे, ये जरूरी है कि किस तरह का सिलेबस बनेगा। अगर हमने इसी सिलेबस को आगे खींच करके ले गए, मैं समझता हूँ कि अभी जो हम पढ़ा रहे हैं, मुझे 41 साल हो गए, मैंने गुरुकुलों में भी पढ़ाया है, लड़के के गुरुकुल, लड़कियों के गुरुकुल, एडेड स्कूल, कॉलेज और पब्लिक स्कूल, इंग्लिश मीडियम स्कूल, संस्कृत मीडियम स्कूल और यूनिवर्सिटी में भी। तो मैं ये अनुभव करता हूँ कि हम अभी तक सिर्फ लिटरेसी, अक्षर ज्ञान देते हैं, तो 5वीं तक खत्म हो जाता है, उसके अक्षर ज्ञान दे दिया या गिनती सिखा दी, इससे आगे नहीं बढ़ पाते हम, तो वही पीएचडी तक चला जाता है। तो हम इस करिकुलम में वो बातें किस प्रकार से शामिल कर पाएंगे। दूसरी बात जो हमने इसमें टीचर की बात हम करते हैं कि टीचर की ट्रेनिंग के लिए, अब टीचर जो करिकुलम बनेगा उस करिकुलम के अकॉर्डिंग टीचर किस प्रकार के चाहिए। यहाँ टीचर की परिकल्पना भी की गई है कि टीचर होलिस्टिक, पूरी उसको नॉलेज होगी और वो पूरा, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ टीचर शब्द नहीं था, हमारे यहाँ गुरु था। गुरु का मतलब जो अज्ञान से ज्ञान की ओर ले जाए, अंधकार से प्रकाश की ओर ले जाए। फिर हमारे यहाँ आ गया मास्टर, जब हम गुलाम हुए स्वामी की परिभाषा में आ गया। अब टीचर फेलिसिटेटर, फ्रेंड, एक दोस्त की भाषा में आ गया। तो हम उसके साथ किस प्रकार से टीचर को हम सेट कर पाएंगे। इसके साथ साथ जो हमने हायर एजुकेशन में लिया कि हम अपनी जो GER ग्रोथ करेंगे वो 50% तक करेंगे 2025 तक। अभी इससे आधी है। किस प्रकार से हम इसको लेकर के आगे जाएंगे? अगर इसकी कल्पना करेंगे हम, तो इस प्रकार की यूनिवर्सिटी कॉलेज कितने होंगे हमारे पास, अब कितने हैं? अगर हम इसको प्राप्त करेंगे तो हमें एक यूनिवर्सिटी पर वीक खोलनी पड़ेगी, जो इम्पॉसिबल सा काम है। दूसरा, इसी तरह से स्कूल लेवल पर हम बात करें, स्कूल में भी हम 100% GER लाना चाहेंगे, जो 2030 तक हमने उसका टारगेट रखा है। तो उसके लिए भी हमारे पास स्कूल नहीं है। स्कूल होंगे तो हेडमास्टर और प्रिंसिपल नहीं है, प्रिंसिपल होंगे तो टीचर नहीं है। तो किस प्रकार से हम इसको कोप अप करेंगे? और विशेष रूप से जबकि फाइनेंशियल पोजीशन हमारी इतनी अच्छी नहीं होने वाली है। दो चैलेंज मेन है, एक तो जैसे कोरोना टाइप की नेचुरल कैलेमिटी हमारे सामने आ जाती है, दूसरा चैलेंज पॉलिटिकल चैलेंज। अगर कल को ये सरकार ही बदल जाए फिर क्या होगा? जैसे पीछे हमने CC लागू किया पिछली सरकार ने, तो वो चेंज हो गया, उसके बाद फिर दूसरी पॉलिसी आएगी। तो इस प्रकार के जो कैलेमिटी से हमारे सामने जो क्राइसिस आया है, फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस, उस फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस से जूझते हुए हम कैसे, हाउ टू बिल्ड सो मेनी टाइप ऑफ स्कूल, सो मेनी टाइप ऑफ यूनिवर्सिटीज एंड colleges is in this specific scenario under the calamity, a type of corona type of calamity. So these are the main problem. And higher education पर एक हमने और लिया मल्टीपल एग्जिट, जहां पर हम सर्टिफिकेट देंगे 1 साल का, उसके बाद फिर हम 2 साल का सर्टिफिकेट देंगे, फिर 3 साल का। एम बड़ा अच्छा है, लेकिन उस सर्टिफिकेट को लेकर के हमारे यहाँ जब माइंड सेट नौकरी का है, तो उस सर्टिफिकेट को नौकरी देने वाली एजेंसी किस लेवल का उसको मानेगी, किस लेवल पर उसकी रिकॉग्निशन करेगी, ये भी बड़ा जरूरी है कि उसको किस प्रकार से। विशेष रूप से हमने जब भारतीय भाषाओं की कल्पना तो कर दी, लेकिन हमारा टोटल सेटअप, जितनी कंपनीज हैं, मल्टीपल नेशन कंपनीज हैं, वो तो सारी इंग्लिश में है। वहाँ इंग्लिश प्राइम लैंग्वेज है, विदाउट इंग्लिश नोबडी कैन स्टैंड देयर। सो उनको कैसे हम फेस कर पाएंगे? कैसे वो हमारे उन स्टूडेंट को जो क्षेत्रीय भाषाओं में, नेशनल लैंग्वेज में, मदर लैंग्वेज में आएंगे, उनको कैसे वो डील करेंगे? तो ये इस टाइप की प्रॉब्लम भी हमारे सामने आने वाली है। ऐसे ही डिजिटलाइजेशन, हम काफी आगे हैं डिजिटलाइजेशन में, लेकिन फिर भी आज भी रिमोट एरियाज में कनेक्टिविटी नहीं है। तो ये एक बड़ी प्रॉब्लम रहेगी कि इसको हम कैसे कोप अप कर पाएंगे। तो इस प्रकार की हमारी जो पेडागोजी है और जो ग्राउंड रियलिटीज हैं, उन ग्राउंड रियलिटीज को देखते हुए हम किस प्रकार से इसको डेवलप कर पाएंगे, इस तरह की बातें हमारे सामने एक चैलेंज के रूप में खड़ी हुई हैं। तो ये ओरिएंटेशन रिलेटेड हो सकती हैं, डिजिटलाइजेशन की हो सकती है, फिर ट्रेनिंग ऑफ एजुकेटर्स किस प्रकार, जैसे हमने कहा 50 आवर्स प्रोग्राम अभी CBSE भी करती है, लेकिन ये पॉसिबल नहीं हो पा रहा है। तो किस प्रकार से हम उसको मैनेज कर पाएंगे, एंड हाउ वी हैंडल दीज सिचुएशंस। So it is necessary to cope up with these situations. तो इस प्रकार से मैं समझता हूं कि मेरा टाइम भी हो गया है। तो
बहुत धन्यवाद धर्मदेव सर। बहुत अच्छा और बिल्कुल प्रैक्टिकल बातें आपने बताई कि कहाँ पे हमें चैलेंजेस हैं, कहाँ पे हमें ध्यान देने की जरूरत है, और कहाँ पे ये पॉलिसी बाकी पॉलिसी से अलग है। और बहुत बहुत सारे सीनियर एजुकेटर्स हैं जिन्होंने अभी तक इस सेशन में पार्टिसिपेट किया है, उन्होंने ऑलमोस्ट वही बातें कही जो आपने कहा सर, कि दिस इज फर्स्ट सच पॉलिसी विच इज एक्चुअली एम्फसाइजिंग अपॉन नेशनलिस्टिक वैल्यूज। और रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस पे भी आपने आपने बात कही जो बहुत प्रैक्टिकल है। लॉट ऑफ पीपल सेड दैट कि लॉट ऑफ एक्सपर्ट, इनफैक्ट लैंग्वेज एक्सपर्ट सेड कि हमारा जो 5th तक का जिसको हमने मदर टंग पे एम्फेसिस पॉलिसी कर रही है, वो बहुत जरूरी है फाउंडेशनल स्ट्रेंथ डेवलप करने के लिए बच्चे की एकेडमिक्स में, और कॉन्सेप्चुअल क्लैरिटी के लिए बहुत जरूरी है। बच्चा इंग्लिश है या कोई भी फॉरेन लैंग्वेज है, कोई भी लैंग्वेज है, you know, one child can learn up to 5 languages till he attains 8 year of his life. तो भाषाएं तो कई सारी सीखी जा सकती हैं, पर जो क्लैरिटी ऑफ कॉन्सेप्ट्स है उसके लिए जरूरी है कि जो शुरुआती बच्चे की शिक्षा हो उसकी मदर टंग में हो, ताकि उसको वो भाषा पे ज्यादा ध्यान ना दे, कॉन्सेप्ट क्लैरिटी पे ध्यान दे। तो आपने कई सारी बातों के बारे में यहाँ बताया सर। यू रेज वन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट दैट वी नीड टू क्रिएट मास अवेयरनेस। एब्सोल्युटली एग्री विद यू सर। हम लोग हर दिन ये सेशंस कर रहे हैं सर पिछले 6 महीने 7 महीने से, और करीब करीब 15,000 क्वेश्चन हमें रिसीव हुए। तो उन क्वेश्चन को देख के हम भी वही महसूस करते हैं आपकी तरह की मास अवेयरनेस की जरूरत है। और ये जो सारे क्वेश्चन है टीचर्स के हैं, अभी तो पेरेंट्स की और आम जनता की तो बात ही हम लोग नहीं कर रहे हैं। तो पेरेंट्स, अभी तो टीचर्स हैं, उन्हीं में बहुत सारी क्लैरिटी की जरूरत है। तो पेरेंट्स तक तो हम पहुंचे ही नहीं अभी तक, यू नो, एज अ कंट्री, एज अ नेशन, एज ए इंस्टीट्यूशन। तो ये आपने बिल्कुल एक अच्छा पॉइंट रेज किया। यू ऑल्सो टॉक्ड अबाउट यू नो जहाँ पे एनईपी जो रूट्स है उनको, चाहे वो एक टीचर का एवोल्यूशन है, टीचर के एवोल्यूशन की बात एनईपी कर रही है, कैसे उसको एम्पावर हम लोग करें, कैसे टीचर ट्रेनिंग को लेके हम बात करें। lot of people who have participated shared that, you know, today's teacher is not the only source of information for a student, even not the biggest source of information for the student. Student has far more powerful and far more bigger resources of information than teacher. So when student comes to teacher, it is not coming to teacher for the information, it is actually coming to teacher for the perspective. So teacher need to become a facilitator rather than an instructor. तो वो आपने टीचर रोल की बात कही, और कई सारी बातों पे आपने कहा कि many suggestions which are there in NEP, they looks very ambitious, you know, they seems very ambitious, like चाहे वो यूनिवर्सिटीज को लेके हो, चाहे वो हायर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन के एस्टेब्लिशमेंट को लेके हो, तो वो धीरे धीरे होगा। यू ऑल्सो टॉक्ड अबाउट दैट, जिसको हमें करने की जरूरत है, जो भी एक चैलेंज रहेगा। पर बहुत सारे लोगों का ऐसा मानना है कि पोस्ट दिस 5G इंस्टॉलेशन, बहुत सारे एक्सपर्ट ऐसा कहते हैं, अगले 2 साल के अंदर जो इंटरनेट है आज भी बहुत सारे लोगों तक है, लेकिन अगले 2 साल के अंदर 5G आने के बाद इंटरनेट पेनिट्रेशन बहुत ज्यादा इंडिया में होने वाला है, और शायद बहुत सारे लोगों तक हो सकता है। तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद धर्मदेव सर फॉर योर पार्टिसिपेशन। आई कम बैक टू यू विद क्वेश्चन सर।
Right.
थैंक यू। And now I would request and invite Charles sir. Charles sir, if we can have your ideas, your thoughts.
Sure, thank you so much. I'll be sharing my screen. I'll be grateful if you could just ping on me, so then I'm able to share the screen.
Yes, you can do that, sir.
Yeah, so is it visible?
Not yet.
Okay. You need to give me a minute.
Please take your time, sir.
Yeah. So I'm sharing now. Sometimes technology gives us.
It happens, sir. It happens. We have been organizing sessions, so we have been quite.
You see, what happens is I've got the person who helps me out is my son, and he's very good at everything. So the issue is that today he's busy. Right.
अब आपको पता लगा होगा कि सर जब हम लोग बच्चे तैयारी करते हैं और एग्जाम में मेरा दोस्त जिसके सहारे में पेपर में आता हूँ वो उस दिन ना आए।
Sir, is it visible now?
Yes, it is absolutely visible.
That's good. So thank you so much for the opportunity that you've given me. I'll be coming back to my normal self and tell you everything. But first, I just want to thank you for this. What I'm going to talk about is literacy and numeracy. Now, if we look at the National Education Policy 2020, I'm just doing a little background. It has the introduction and it's got 4 parts. And then, of course, it's got the abbreviations. So in part 1, you have school education. It's got 8 topics. Part 2, you have higher education, 11 topics. Part 3, the other key areas of education, 5 topics. And part 4, you've got making it happen. That's 3 topics. That is the implementation part, is in part 4. What I'm going to do is part 1, so in part 1, there are 8 topics. Out of that, I'm taking topic number 2, which is foundational literacy and numeracy. So basically what is this is there's an urgent and necessary prerequisite to learning. That means if you want to learn, there has to be something that makes us learn. What is the foundational literacy and numeracy? We need to understand what does the government want us to understand by this. the ability to read and comprehend. I'm using the word comprehend. Comprehend means samajh lena, because very often we are reading the stuff, but we cannot understand it. Comprehend basic text and the ability to carry out basic additions and subtractions with Indian numerals. Indian numerals could be any Indian language. All right. So let's not just focus on one language, any Indian language. If we are able to do this much, which we should achieve by grade 3. All right. So it's not just basically writing something and reading it out or doing a little thing. It's actually understanding that and doing mathematical, foundational exercises, then which will be achieved till grade 3 in Indian numerals, that is in any Indian language. Then we say we've achieved this foundational literacy and numeracy. Got it? So this is what the government wants. Now, how does the government want us to do it? So various government as well as non-government surveys, a large proportion of students currently in elementary schools, estimated about 5 crores. So the kind of kids that we have right now in this bracket, all right, is almost 5 crores. And these 5 crores are actually studying, but they may not have the literacy that we want. So the highest priority for the education system will be to achieve this universal foundation literacy. Now, the meaning of the word universal foundational literacy means any school, whether it is an Anganwadi school or it is a school which has ultra modern facilities, the education system should be the same. The comprehensibility should be the same. So if that child can read apple and know what an apple is, this child in the Anganwadi should be able to read apple and know what it is. And for this, the government has created a fantastic target, 2025. Yani ki 2025, all our children will begin this process of learning. All state, union, territory governments will immediately prepare an implementation plan for attaining this universal foundation literacy and numeracy in all primary schools, to be achieved by tracking and monitoring. So they will find out actually what has happened. It is not that you've given a goal and then somebody just writes down things. No, they will be tracking and monitoring. And believe me, we are living today in a place what we call is the technology. And in technology, you can just know anything about anyone. Every child can be monitored. Every child can be monitored. And if every child can be monitored, I'm sure if the government is serious about it and we are serious about it, it is achievable. The urgent national mission with immediate measures to be taken on many fronts. Now, because of this, we need to have many fronts. Many fronts is, again, the pedagogy, the curriculum, the teacher training. There are many things with clear goals. Okay. So again, this is what we appreciate about this national policy is they always talk about clarity. They always talk about time. It's a very professional one. It's not something that gives you, it gives you a vague idea of becoming a good citizen and then you do not know the exact meaning of it. What do they mean by it? Over here, everything has been clearly stated. That will be attained in short term. Got it? So everything is short term. It's not that something we can play around with. Now, the first step that they're going to do is teacher vacancies. I'm sure that this has already been dealt with, but teachers' vacancies will be filled at the earliest in a time-bound manner, especially in the disadvantaged area. Disadvantaged area basically means those areas where the people are poor, those areas which are on the outskirts, those areas which do not have any teachers over there at all, teacher availability is not there. In those areas, they are going to, fulfill vacancies and the teacher ratio will be 30:1, but they are going to aim at 25:1. All right. So in the beginning, we will start with 30:1. That means for every 30 students, we will have one teacher, but our basic aim will be to create 25 students, one teacher, and I believe it's going to be awesome. Teachers will be trained. Now, it's not just that we're going to face that, put it up, where teachers are going to be trained, encouraged, supported. Now, when we use the word trained basically means you give them a certain concepts, tell them ye karna hai, and that's all. No. After being trained, they need to be encouraged. Encouraged means, again, motivated. It's a lovely word, encouraged. Motivated and supported. Supported is the third word. That means wherever the teacher feels they're lacking, okay, they will get support. Now please understand that the meaning of support is a fantastic word. I really love this word, because the meaning of the word support means very often teachers get disoriented. That is one of the biggest problems, I mean, in this whole education system, is teachers get disoriented, they get demotivated कि इनको पढ़ा के क्या होगा, है ना, ये क्या कर पाएंगे, isn't it, how will it happen, all those words. So over there they will get support and continuous professional development. You see, the development, they will always have that means refresher courses. I do not know whether the refresher course will be every month, every 2 months, every 3 months, but there is this. So basically, for every teacher, it's not only the teachers trained. You know, as we just do our B.Ed and we are trained teachers, okay? But now, thank God, CBSE has brought in a lot of seminars and all we attend, etc. And we've started understanding that we need to upgrade ourselves continuously. In the same way, over here, CBSE is saying that at this level, please understand when I'm talking about the level of the preschool teacher and the primary teacher, got it, 1 to 3rd. This is the where we basically take it for granted कि भाई बच्चों को तो पढ़ाना ABCD है, कोई भी पढ़ा देगा. But it's not like that. It's not just like anybody could teach, but it's got to be taught in a proper manner to impart foundational literacy and numeracy. Great. So once again, so the teacher is going to be trained how to do just this job. So they know their profile and they will know the process of their profile. So teaching education and the early grade curriculum. Again, if we spoke about the curriculum should be made. So yeah, they're going to redesign the curriculum. It has to be redesigned. Why it will be redesigned? So that there is equality in the curriculum. It's not that in one school they are teaching you 6 times tables, in the other school they are still talking about, you know, basic 1 to 10 and counting from 1 to 10. No, every school will have the same curriculum, and the same curriculum will be followed throughout India. I think that is beautiful. So that a child, when he leaves one school and goes to another school, if his father gets transferred or there is a problem over there, not an issue. He just leaves over here, he goes there, the curriculum is the same. The curriculum is the same, the books are the same, things will be the same. And believe me, it's going to be really fantastic, because it's, you know, people's monopoly on creating a certain curriculum only for their school, etc., will be washed out. It will be redesigned to have renewed emphasis on foundational literacy and numeracy. So I think that's nice. So again, we are focusing on the entire time we're talking about that foundational literacy and numeracy. And once again, it's defined as able to read, write and understand. And then in numeracy, it's talking about basic addition and subtraction the child should be able to do. And I'm sure if that happens, we'll go a long way. Currently, with the lack of universal access to early childhood care and education. Got it? So this is ECCE, that is early childhood care and education. A large number of students already fall behind within the first week of grade 1. Okay, so now you have 3 years of preschool. Okay, so when you have these 3 years of preschool, that is the KG, or you call it the Anganwadi, etc. Sometimes what happens is they're not given the exact kind of education. So when they come to class 1, certain students may have an issue. For that, so that to see that everybody is ready for grade 1, they will have a 3-month play-based school preparation, because you must understand very often we are only talking about academic studies, all right, ABCD 1 2 3, but how to stand, how to sit, how to collaborate with each other, how to spend time with your friends, how to have social skills, how to understand the music as or the ability to speak, etc. All these things are part that could be imparted to a child when he's small. Sometimes the curriculum is really very big, which is a non-verbal curriculum. And all we do is we have a written curriculum. The problem sometimes is maybe in certain schools, they may have a large curriculum which integrates a lot of things. For example, even if it's physical education, can the child do skip? Can a child do hop? Can he do, dodge running, etc.? There's so many things only in your physical education itself. But all these things in certain schools, it's not available at all. So over here, we'll have a 3-month play-based school preparation module. Got it? So it will be a play-based school preparation module where a child learns basic instructions without fear. If we can only teach our children basic instructions without fear, I'm sure we will have a school that is fantastic. And this is going to be developed by NCERT and SCERT. So it's not going to, it's not just anybody can do anything. It will be well chartered and well done. I think this is a very exciting thing, which I'd be looking forward for, right? To see that we all have the same curriculum, which has been established in a manner where people have collaborated and understood, the nuances of a little child, and they can bring in a curriculum where there's no stress on a child. Otherwise, today you find children of first standard, KG, nursery going for tuitions, and mothers beating the child up and telling them, "Pado, seekte kyun nahi ho?" And it's so depressing when you look at all that. And that's very rightly said by our earlier speaker, Lord Macaulay, he still rules sometimes. Great. A national repository of high quality resources on foundational literacy and numeracy will be available on digital infrastructure of knowledge sharing. So all the repository, that means all the kinds of resources that a teacher needs, it will all be available digital. So when something is available digital, it becomes inexpensive. You can easily go and gather it. The more you explore it, the faster you'll be able to do. You'll be able to work on this. And this is also going to be there. States may consider establishing innovative models. Now it's not that we are going to straitjacket it and do, we will give you a lot of things, but the pedagogy and the model can come from the states. And it's, since we earlier spoke about there would be lack of teachers, we'll have peer tutoring. Peer tutoring means other students will teach them. We'll have volunteer activities. We'll have other people, maybe Dada ji, Dadi ji, or maybe some people who want to get into social activities. They will also come in and help us out here, right, in helping this. So this whole problem of just getting teachers and recruiting so many teachers, it may be solved through this area also. So again, we'll have a national book promotion policy which will be formulated. There'll be lots of initiatives over there. Quality books will be available, books which have lots of drawings, etc. in them, for many languages at many levels. So this will also, they can also use all these things. So I'm sure if we do this, it will help us a lot. And the last point, when I was talking about it, I'm coming to the last point, is up till now we only have something known as the midday meal. But now when we realize when the children come in, they may be hungry. So the first thing we're going to do is give them a breakfast. Now this breakfast, if you cannot make the the halwa, puri or something like that, which is which would need time to make, all you need to do is you can always give them chana and goros or moongfali or something like that, which would satisfy them a little, make them happy, and then help them to study. Then they can have their midday meal. And apart from that, the regular health checkup with 100% immunization in schools, health card will be issued. So we will know whether our children are healthy, because we ultimately understand that it's only a healthy body, that can function well. And last is, again, I'm just revising it for you. I've taken this slide over there. The foundation skills, we'll have a national mission, book promotion, early learning, 3-month based schools, which I told you that before they go into class 1, they'll have a 3-month play school. Then a national repository, the Diksha, and the libraries. Great. I do not know if I've overshot my time. I'm really sorry about it. So you can forgive me for that.
Right. Thank you, Charles sir, for this such a wonderful and useful talk. You actually created a template to understand where actually we are facing those challenges and what would be the solution and the kind of impact all these changes which this NEP is proposing would create. You began part by part. You began by saying and sharing that fact that 5 crore students are into that elementary education system, but majority of them lack those basic numeracy skills. And then you talked about various changes which this NEP is promising, be it filling up those teachers vacancy, on an urgent basis. You also talked about the importance of teachers training program, which this NEP is proposing, like CPD, and the kind of impact it would generate. You also talked about the reforms in entire teacher education and early child curriculum, which this NEP is proposing, would create huge impact, and those changes have the potential to change the face of Indian education. You also talked about that the biggest challenge is that lack of universal access to early childcare education to all the students, and this NEP has given its I would say the most attention to that part. And I believe that is the biggest achievement this NEP has already done. It has created that mass awareness about the importance of those early years. After interacting with those 10,000 of people during last 7-8 months, we have realized that now everyone is talking about those early years, the importance of those early years. So the one big thing. You also talked about those where state is going to establish innovative models like peer tutoring, volunteer teaching programs. You also talked about that national book promotion policy and the kind of impact it would generate. So big thanks, Charles, sir, for sharing, participating these wonderful thoughts. I would come back to you with questions, sir.
Sure,
Thank
sure.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you. And now I would request and invite Shipra Bhatia ma'am. Ma'am, if you can have your ideas and thoughts.
Thank you so much. And I would really like to add on with what Charles sir had started with the early childhood education. See, the vision of this policy basically, it is mandatory to develop an education system where we have high quality standards. And keeping this window in mind, basically this NEP is being framed, wherein we have to educate values to the students and wherein they have to understand the rights, and unko incorporate karke we have to develop the skills, and that is again a very important part of the NEP. So if I talk about the education system, which we were currently following was 10+2. Now this 10+2 framework is divided into 4 stages. It's like 5+3+3+4. The stage 5 is actually the foundation stage, wherein we are covering up the pre-primary, that is PG, nursery, KG, and 1 and 2. So this is being considered as the foundation years of the growth of the child. After that, we have 3 years wherein 3rd to 5th classes are being catered into this section, and it is called as a preparatory stage. And followed by this, we have again +3, where is the middle stage, wherein we are including classes 6th, 7th, and 8th. After that, it is followed by the senior secondary, which is 9 to 12th. So this is the framework which has been divided. And basically, the child's brain develops at the age of 3.5 or 6 years. So these are the crucial years wherein we have to take into account how we build up the foundations. Basically, these are the foundation years. So they actually they are the clay wherein we can mold them and wherein we can educate them and we can train them even. So this is the only objective with this policy. And they like even in the government schools, if we see, we have admissions directly in grade 1, wherein pre-primary years were not given that much of importance. So with this NEP, the pre-primary education is being given a lot of weightage. And you might have seen, in with the many schools or preparatory schools that we have in our country, they always write playway approach, playway method. But actually, we are not following that playway method. It's just for the tagline basis we are using it, but we are not doing that playway approach. We are not following it. So now this becomes the impulsion on the, we as an educators, it becomes an impulsion to be a part of the education system. And this activity-based learning will be incorporated in the pre-primary years. And we might have heard about the Dr. Maria Montessori playway method of teaching, and which was actually being followed in Italy, and wherein they have laid very good foundation years of the students. So we are going to adopt that as a the way of teaching. Now, then same criteria follows to the urban areas also, wherein pre-primary education was not targeted, and here also in urban areas pre-primary education is also being included, and with the rural areas too. Now from last 5 to 10 years, pre-primary school have created awareness by learning and doing. So now learning and doing both has to be incorporated. So this is one point. And after that, the teachers training, as Dr. Vidhyarthi said, is a very important aspect of this thing, because we have to actually give training to the teachers, because somewhere down the line the quality is being deteriorated, because we are all after results. We all want results. The parents want results. The schools principals want results. So somewhere the teachers are being pressurized, wherein we are lacking the quality of the school. So that we have to work on. Then we have to create. Now, if I talk about the curriculum and pedagogy, as I discussed, we have to focus on the learning outcomes and the subject competencies, because like integration of subjects has already also been taken place with the NEP, wherein art and craft, sports, these also are going to play a major role. So with the students who are opting for science and commerce stream, they do have options to explore the other skills also. Now, then it is very important, again, application based approach, wherein this is also talked about in the NEP, wherein we have to have this application based approach and teaching through the experiment. Although many schools are following it, but it is not a mandatory thing which is being, many of the CBSE schools are implementing it, that we have to have that application based approach, but it is not a compulsion on any of us. So this again is included into any NEP, which has to be taken care of with all the schools. Then over the period, the schools have always emphasized on the quantitative growth, wherein the qualitative growth and the parameters were not taken care of. So these things also has to be taken into account. That's, I mean, my take on the policy, wherein I think I've covered. Yes, and one more thing is there, like this is all about the school education, but when we talk about the higher education also, major changes have been taken place, wherein the foreign universities will be given the liberty of coming and opening up the they can have their own campuses in India also, because this will somehow increase the level of the education, and we will be able to provide good leaders for tomorrow. And then there is a proposal that this 3 years plan will be converted into 4-year plan, wherein a student can exit after 3 years of education. Like there are chances when once you are in first year of graduation, you have financial crisis, or there is some issue when you cannot pursue your degree. So for that, once you qualify the first year of the education, then you can have a certificate course. After that, after getting into the second year of this graduation, you'll be awarded with a diploma course, and then in the third year of graduation will be awarded with a degree course, wherein the child, if the child drops in the first year, can continue with his studies in the second and in third year. And then and then same way they have done this thing, that PhD also is being, the process of doing PhD is also being eased out, because with the UG plus PG followed by MPhil and then PhD. So it used to take a lot of time, wherein the candidates were not opting for PhD. So what they have done is, with the new NEP, they have curtailed this MPhil part, and directly after UG and after being a postgraduate, the candidate can go for PhD. So the approach is becoming very flexible, and wherein the things are becoming quite easy for the common man. And I hope that's it. Wherein I'll be taking a pause.
Thank you, Shipra ma'am. You touched upon all the important parts of this policy, and you shared your assessment and the kind of impact the changes this NEP is bringing would create. You also talked about the importance of that new structure, the proposed structure, and the kind of impact it would generate, that 5+3+3+4 structure. A lot of people are asking the question, and I would be presenting many of those questions in today's question answer part. You also talked about the importance of that activity-based, method of teaching, or playway or method of teaching in the real sense, if we are executing it. And you also talked about that the NEP is proposing and emphasizing on that way. You also talked about the importance of integration of different subjects, be it science or sports, into the formal education, and it would create huge impact. You also touched upon the changes which are being proposed in the higher education part, be it the flexible entry-exit part, and we all agree with you, ma'am. It would certainly generate huge amount of impact. You also talked about that welcoming good foreign universities to Indian soil is a good initiative. It would create huge impact. not just it would offer quality education, it would create that good competition among universities. Also, it would save a lot of precious foreign reserve for our country. So big thanks, Shipra ma'am, for sharing these valuable thoughts. I would
My
come back to
pleasure.
you for questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now with this, I would request and invite Balwinder sir, sir, if we can have your ideas and thoughts.
Thank you, Rajulji. Today, I will be talking about the universal access to education. All of us know that universal access to education means that all people should have equal opportunity in education, regardless of their caste, race, gender, or background. But today, I am going to focus on inclusion of two special classes of people, which I think till now have been neglected in this process. And those people are with the disabilities, people with mental disabilities, and physical disabilities. See, this non-discrimination is considered as a international human right. So, and these universal rights, it's legally bound. They are legally bounded. All the constitutions in the world, they guarantee that these rights should be provided by the respective national governments to all the people, barring all kind of discrimination. So first thing I would like to tell the august audience is how this, from where this term came, the universal access to education. So this term actually has come from the USA, and this term is not the result of any agitation or any movement, any popular movement, but this came from two decisions given by the US court. First case was the Brown versus Board of Education. This case was regarding the segregation of schools for the white and the colored people. So in this judgment, the court ruled out in favor of desegregation, that all people, there should not be any discrimination, and all people should get the same opportunities in the field of education. Second one was the Mill versus State Education Department of Columbia, in which there were some special students. We call that CWSN, children with special needs. So the board was denying them the right to appear in the exams. So they filed a case in the court, and in the first hearing itself, the court ruled in the favor of those students. The state government argued that we cannot afford the cost of education which will be provided to these special students. But the court said that it is the duty of the state that whatever the cost may be, these students must be provided the education, and they should get the opportunity to appear in the board exams. So these two cases brought out this term universal access to education, that all people should get the access to education. And what we mean by education is the education itself has some goals. Education provides us the opportunity to change our lives. So this has come from that perspective. And right to education is now accepted as a global human right. So therefore, we can claim it legally also. Legally means that now in 2009, we know that the RTE was implemented. The bill was passed in the parliament, where the RTE guarantees the right of a child to get free and compulsory education. But what we are missing is that this RTE has actually missed its objective, the target which was to be achieved through RTE. So there are some things which we need to focus upon, and I will be talking about that. because if you will see that this year budget also, I'm not criticizing the government, but this year budget, the budget allocation for the education has been decreased by 5,000 crores. The government, actually, we know the pandemic is, this effect of pandemic is there, but in the world standards, in the developed countries, we see there is a saying that if country needs development, then they should spend at least 6% of their GDP in the field of education. But in India, unfortunately, we are not spending, we are even half of that. The budget allocation for the field of education is less than 3%. And this year it has again decreased, it has been decreased again by 5,000 crore. Earlier it was 98,000 crore, and this year it is only 93,000 crores. Due to the pandemic, when the schools were closed, so there should have been, the education must have been given priority, but the government has actually decreased the budget. So I'm coming again to the universal access to education. Actually, it is the most important goal of education, because all people must have equal opportunities to take part in this education system, which means inclusive education for all. But today, as I earlier said, we need to focus on those two classes which are really missing the education. The WHO has estimated that there are more than 1 billion people who have various types of disabilities. And these people are never given any importance in our system. Though there have been some steps being taken by department, CBSE also, where we take separate exams for the CWSN students, but still there is no infrastructure for them. There are no special schools for them, because here, what in the state where I live, here in Haryana, mostly the schools for special students are available only at district headquarters. Whereas, there are so many people in urban towns, rural areas, which they need the education, and the schools, they don't have the infrastructure, they don't have the special teachers to provide them education. So as I was talking about the WHO data, 90% of around 150 million students, children are there, and these children, mostly 90% of them are from the poor countries, we can say, underdeveloped or developing countries. So they are not able to get to the school itself. So they are being deprived of their basic human right, which is to get the universal access to education. They don't go to school, they don't get the opportunity. And another data is there, that 759 million people in the world are uneducated. They don't know the importance of education, that how education can change their lives. And they don't know, so they are not able to change the living condition of their families. So that is, we need to take care of, that everyone gets into the system. As Nelson Mandela has very rightly said, that education is the most powerful weapon by which we can change the world. So all these people, I'm talking about poor, I'm talking about the children with special needs, they need the access to the opportunities so they can also change their lives. Each individual must be given the opportunity to access the resources that will enable them to achieve their potential. But our focus through RTE, what I can understand is that our focus has only been on the increasing the enrollment at the entry point. The RTE, instead of right to education, it has become the right to admission. We are not focusing on the education. We are focusing only on increasing the number of students in the education system. So we need to change our focus. Instead of focusing on the students that they are given the entry into the schools, we must, instead of right to education, it should be the right to quality education, so that they can change their lives. Uh, Quality education, because we understand the situation. The government schools, they cannot fulfill this aim or the objective. They cannot fulfill the hope of the people, the expectation. So the government has set up a target that 30% of gross enrollment in higher education by 2030. But in higher education system, we have the merit system of admissions. So how these students, they will get the admission, the entry into this higher education is very doubtable. Uh, so as am talking about the quality of education, so we can achieve these goals only if we change the current system. We bring, instead of giving only focusing on education, we need to focus on the quality education. Because what I feel, actually, it must be it can be called a crime when we are depriving the students of these rights, these opportunities, by not providing them quality education. Uh, so students who want to pursue higher education, they must get this quality education, irrespective of, as I said, the disparities in the system these days. We can see when I'm talking about the quality education, uh, in most of the schools which we consider as good, we can see the number of parents, who are thriving there to get the admission even in nursery class. These days, though, the cases go up to the Supreme Court for the admissions in the nursery class. So that is only because the schools, it is only for those schools which provide quality education. So in the end, I would like to, uh, as I said, the goal of education is not only the development, social development, sustainable development, and also by this tool, we can, alleviate the poverty in society. So as educator, it is our duty that we need to take care of these students. It's our duty that we need to take care of our stakeholders. So we must care for our duty, and our duty is to take care of the primary stakeholders of the students, the students. And I am hopeful that this new education policy as we are all are talking about, or the resource persons are talking about, that it is going to focus on the quality education. So that's what I'm trying. And also it will talk about the inclusive education for all the sections of the society, including the persons with the disabilities, physical, mental, whatever kind of, even the deprived section of the society will get an opportunity to change their life through the education. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Balvinder sir, for bringing out these very, very important ideas, important facts. You share a lot of important facts to us. You began by sharing how this entire concept of universal access got originated. You gave those examples of the US code, so that helps us in understanding the entire concept. And you also talked about the importance of right to education and why everyone must access this right. You also talked about the decreasing budget. The reduction in the budget for education is not, very encouraging for everyone involved. You also shared that very disturbing fact from WHO that around 1 billion people across world are having some kind of disability. So I would say a further emphasize upon stress upon these kind of important policy initiatives. You also talked about where each individual must get the opportunity to access resources. You also talked about that government's target that 30% GER in higher education seems too ambitious, at the outset. So it needs to have proper infrastructure in place to achieve. You also talked about, in the end, you called upon all the educators that, government has done its part, policy makers have, played their role now, that onus comes to all the educators. Everyone involved has to fulfill its duty in order to successfully implement this policy and in order to achieve the desired fruits. So big thanks, Balwinder sir, for joining and sharing these important, valuable ideas and facts. Big thanks. I'll come back to you with questions. And now I would invite the last speaker for the day, Dr. Deepika Yadav ji. Dr. Deepika ji, over to you. Deepika ji?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I'll be directly begin with the choice-based system, that is CBCS syllabus curriculum that we have implemented to bridge the gap between university and job industry. I believe that student team, I would say, helps students to bridge gap between school and university. So in a way, one is related to each other. We are preparing our students for job industry, and schools are preparing for university. So in a way, we are related to each other. So every time our aim is basically, to